Alright, in this second video we're going to take a look at actually dimensioning the P-bracket. The first video goes over how to draw this if you want to watch it, or you can look on Vision and just look at the drawing and create it yourself. Remember to draw with the construction lines. Alright, so when you're ready, and at this point we need to talk about dimensioning a little bit. The dimensioning stuff is up here under the annotation section of the Home tab. We've used annotation before, that was the text tool, but you can also add different dimensions here by clicking this little drop down arrow, or you can come over to the Annotate tab where there's more tools in there spread out a little bit more for easier use, I guess you could say. But what I like to do, like we did with the Object Snap toolbar, I like to turn on the dimensioning toolbar. So to do that, we'll come up here to Tools. Make sure you have the Show menu bar thing turned on. If you don't, click that to turn it on. Maximize my screen there. Excuse me. Come up here to Tools, go to Toolbars, AutoCAD Toolbars, and we'll just come down here and look for the Dimension one. Once that comes on, you can grab it and place it wherever you'd like. I'm going to stick mine over here beside my Object Snap stuff. And I'm even OCD. I'm going to put the longer one towards the left of my screen. Now these are the same dimensioning tools you'll find up here or on the Annotate tab. The only thing I like about this a little more is it shows everything that we'll ever use. Plus it gives us easy access to the Dimension Style Manager. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Dimension Style Manager. If you choose not to do this, you can get to it here under Annotate and click the Dimension Style Manager here. But let's go ahead and bring that up. So what this lets us do is either create a new style or modify the existing standard style, which we just modified. I don't make it create a new one. So I'm going to come in here to modify, and you can control how the dimensions look under each of these tabs here, switching different numbers or checking different things off and on. But the main thing we're interested in is if we come over here to the symbols and arrows section, is getting center marks turned on. At this point we have a mark that's 0.09 inches long, which is pretty small, so we're going to change that to an inch. Okay, that looks pretty good. We can change it, looks like a line, a mark, or none. We're going to leave the mark turned on there. I'm actually going to take that out a little bit farther, and we'll say 1.5 inches once. Nah, that's too much. Let's go back to an inch. That looks better. Okay. And that is the only change we need to make on that tab. The other thing, if we come up here to the text, you can change the style of text. We're not going to. Alright. The fit, we're going to leave this alone, but just showing this is how it puts the numbers inside and the arrows outside. You can kind of control what you want it to do there. Text is on the outside. So you can kind of play with this and watch here in the preview what happens. Here we can change the units. So if we want it to show up in fractional units, we can change it there. Leave it set to dimension or decimal. Then these two tabs here we don't ever mess with. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And we can close out of this. One other thing here real quick, come back into the Dimension Style Manager, go over to Modify, and the Text tab, I forgot we wanted to change this text height to be 1/8 of an inch, and that'll match the text height we used in the title box. So come back in here and change that, hit OK and close. Excuse me. Alright, so the first thing we want to do here, we did this one center line right here, but we need to do center lines on these circles. In the past I've just told you to take a line tool and draw a crosshair. But now with the dimension toolbar we can come over here to the center mark feature. Come out here and click our circle, and it'll automatically put a center mark for us. And we'll just repeat that for both circles. So make sure you're on the center lines layer when you do that. Everything else we're going to come up here and switch to the dimensions layer to place our other dimensions that we need. So some of those other dimensions, I'm going to start out with just using the linear dimension tool. That's from point A to point B. Okay, and that's this top tool here on the toolbar, or the one that says linear up here in the annotate section. So to do this, it requires 3 clicks. So we're going to click our 2 places we're measuring from and to. Then we're going to pull down, and then we have to click a 3rd time. We want to pull this outside of our object lines and click a 3rd time to place it. So there is our measurement. Okay, so we're just going to repeat this. You can kind of watch on screen where I click. So I'm going to come from here, and my other mark will be here. Alright. Then we're going to measure from the center of this circle to the edge here. The larger dimensions are farther away than the smaller dimensions. Keep that in mind. If you need to move one, you can click and grab the blue handlebar and move it farther away, or bring it closer, whichever you need to do. Next, we're going to measure the overall height from here to here. Bring that out. I'm going to come over here and turn off my line weight for right now. Makes it easier to snap, I think. And I'm just going to work around my shape. When you click to do this one, make sure you don't click down here on the fillet. Make sure you come back here and grab it to get the actual height. Here we're doing the overall height. Pull out. I pull out past into my center line, or my center mark. And again from here, and we have to come down here and grab, and that'll be 0.5. The next thing we need to do is represent the angle here. So to do that, we'll come to our toolbar and we'll come down until we find the one that says angular. Click 2 lines to get an angle, and depending on which way you pull the mouse will be the measurement it gives you. We want to represent 30 degrees. The last step of this is marking our circles. And again, we can represent that in radius or diameter. If we come over here to our toolbar, we can hover and see the radius or the diameter. Kind of looks like a mini analog clock. Okay, so we'll start out with the radius. This big circle is given in a radius, and the other circles are given in diameter. So click. Again, we're going to pull outside of our object lines. And you don't have to place these exactly where I place them. You just don't want them on top of each other, trying to make it look nice and neat. The last thing that we want to do, and we can do this 2 different ways. We can label all these rounds and fillets. We can come in here with the radius tool and click and say a radius of 1/4 or whatever, but we could represent it by text. So I'm just going to get a text box, pull it down here, and then I'm just going to write a note like we've seen on other drawings. Rounds and fillets. R 1/4. And it should automatically change it to a fraction. I'm going to highlight my text. I'm going to set it to 0.125. And if you want to play with the font, you can, but I'm going to leave it alone. And there's my note. After this, all we need to do is put this into our layout tab. So we'll come over to layout. We'll do view, viewport, 1 viewport. I'm on the wrong layer, but that's alright. We'll switch it here in a second. Turn off object snap. Draw out a box. I forgot to turn off the grid. So I'm going to delete that and come back to my model. Turn off my grid, back to layout. Repeat my viewport. And I didn't even remember to change my layer, so we'll do that here in a second. And I'm going to turn that layer off. The last step will be coming in here and titling this and making sure I have the right date. After that, you want to go ahead and save it and work on the other drawings.